A number of years ago, there was this, Jesus, the UFOs. There was a program released. It was revealed that in the US government was looking into UFO stuff. It was the Advanced Aviation Threat Identification Program, revealed in December of 2017. And almost immediately after we found out that that exists, the Sun Online filed a Freedom of Information Act request to get as many documents and materials from this as possible. It finally went through. And as a result of it, we now have access to a bunch of information from this program. So you can see here, this is the Defense Intelligence Agency replying to the Sun Online's now a nearly 5-year-old FOIA request. And they've released all of these documents, literally thousands of them. You can see some of the materials you might have seen before potentially. This shot from, it was an Air Force jet. You can see there a believed encounter with a UFO. But anyway, all told, more than 1,500 pages of UFO related material have now been released on this program that ran from 2007 to 2012. And we want to give you some of the details because they're fascinating. Encounters with UFOs apparently have reportedly left Americans suffering from radiation burns, brain and nervous system damage, and even, and this is amazing, unaccounted for pregnancy. So let's stop there for a second, Brett. Now, they're not saying that they necessarily believe that this is UFOs, but they've been compiling information, and as wide of difference as radiation burns or a pregnancy, presumably a human alien hybrid. What do you think?
No, God's an alien is the only thing I read from this. Like, because Jesus was an unaccounted for pregnancy and something came from above and she was pregnant after that and it looked humanoid, but then it like could die and come back to life. So the government is trying to tell us that Jesus is an alien. No, thank you, sir. I think all of these things we see in the sky are just angels and it's the Lord at work. Either that or what we construe as divine intervention is just alien visitors who make subtle tweaks to our DNA through interbreeding until eventually we can join them and be able to breathe in their atmosphere, which, come on, we all want that.
That sounds like a very reasonable process. Anyway, let's get some more information about this. So there's a company that got this big government contract tied in with senators. It all gets very exciting. I am looking forward to the Hulu series. But anyway, it contained letters. The trove of documents that came out contains letters from Senator Harry Reid. It shows how a contract was awarded to Bigelow Aerospace Advanced Space Studies for $12 million. Notably, the only contractor to bid for the work. So it wasn't competitive. To study, quote, advanced aerospace weapon threats from the present out to 40 years in the future. So that's scary. The report describes 42 cases from medical files and 300 unpublished cases where humans sustained injuries, potentially from those advanced aerospace weapons, after they had had encounters with anomalous vehicles. Humans showed burn injuries or other conditions related to electromagnetic radiation. Some of them appeared to have been inflicted by energy-related propulsion systems. And what the hell is that supposed to mean other than alien rocket engines, I guess? Wait, so is the idea that they were kidnapped and then released, and then the aliens like fired up the afterburners as they sped away from the scene? Why would they have been exposed to that? Anyway, you've got apparent abductions, you've got paralysis, you've got experiences of perceived telepathy, teleportation, and levitation. And all of this has to do with alleged encounters with UFOs and aliens that took place up to 1994 and as far back as 1873. That is just amazing. And I cannot wait to see what Alex Jones ends up doing with this, Brett. I think he's gonna have a field day.
Yeah, it sounds like either people are experiencing up close and personal encounters with aliens or they're high. But isn't it a coincidence that we call it getting high and these UFOs are F, which means they fly. LSD and UFO are both 3 letters.
Oh my God.
OMG,
and if you turn each one
another
into a
3-letter truncation, John.
OMG, it all makes sense if you manipulate the numbers enough. Anyway, look, I will say, as I do when we talk about aliens, I definitely believe that there is life on other planets. I think it's just statistically impossible that it isn't. I question whether it's been here, and that like even the psychology of we'll come, we'll study, we'll abduct them, we'll release them and let them have some memories but not much. That's such a like an we're anthropomorphizing them to think that they would think that way. They would be so alien. The thing about aliens in these encounters is that they're not very alien. They're basically human. They interfere with, it's basically like big pharma, except they hover. That's pretty much what most of these stories ends up being about.
But the reason I like to bring aliens and gods together is my wife loves ancient aliens, and it's all we watch. Like she'll remember it exists, and it'll be like 6 weeks of our lives is just ancient aliens. But it's because there's things that we can't explain, and there's parallels to it's part projection, part possibly true, because we can do amazing things as human beings, but at the same time we screw a lot of stuff up, and it's just a matter of whether you choose that your alien gods are like, he who is I am of the Bible, who's infallible and never wrong, or like Zeus and Mercury and Hermes, who are just out there just having a ball because they got extra powers the regular people don't.
I'm gonna close the segment by giving you one little tantalizing tidbit. So in these documents, they have reports on the biological effects, not only of UFO sightings, but also on things like invisibility cloaks, plans for deep space exploration and colonization. And all of that is dramatic, but some portions of the documents were withheld in part for privacy and confidentiality concerns. So despite the fact that they've released 1,500 pages after years and years, some of it still behind closed doors, redacted. And why? Is it to hide the identities of the innocent, or is it to hide the truth? And I believe that the truth is out there.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.